Investigators have yet to release a motive in the shooting at that Colorado Planned Parenthood, but some believe that the gunman was influenced by overheated political rhetoric. Joining us now to discuss this and more, Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. Senator, thanks so much for being here on New Day.
Good morning. Good morning, Allison.
I know you reject the idea that this gunman was somehow influenced by all of the heated rhetoric around the abortion topic, but since we do know from police that he was ranting about baby parts, how can you be so certain that there wasn't something in the rhetoric that ignited him?
Well, there's no way to know for certain. Obviously, it's all speculation based on the comment that's been made out there, but no one knows the motive, as you just mentioned before. I do absolutely grieve for the families that are in Colorado, as everyone else does in the nation. But I find it completely irrational to say that someone who stands up for life for children is taking life of adults. That's completely inconsistent with the values of the pro-life movement that are very passionate about protecting life, not taking life. And so to say that someone is somehow on board with the pro-life community and is going out and killing people seems very, very inconsistent with the values. This is a loner who lived in a trailer by himself, who had, as you had mentioned in a previous report, domestic violence issues before. So we don't know what set him off or if this was just the latest. But I find it very, very difficult to even fathom the conversation to say people should not talk about the protection of children because someone may go out and kill an adult. Those two don't connect.
The president of Planned Parenthood, Cecile Richards, was on Anderson Cooper's show on CNN last night, and she does see a link between the rhetoric and the action. So listen to what she had to say.
We've seen increased harassment at health centers, at women's health centers, including Planned Parenthood. We've seen rhetoric that I haven't ever seen in a national presidential election before. Again, demonizing women and many of the healthcare providers that provide services to women. I just think it behooves all of us in this country to look at these kinds of incidents and take stock of what we can do to prevent them in the future.
Senator, I mean, obviously talking about abortion is just one of the most heated topics we could ever talk about. You in Congress are working to try to defund Planned Parenthood, and of course that is your prerogative as a lawmaker. This is what lawmakers do, try to figure out what to invest in, what not to invest in. But does she have a point that it would behoove everyone to sort of take it down a notch in terms of rhetoric?
I would think anything that comes across as a caustic or attacking women, her comment there was a little confusing to me to say that this seems to be demonizing women. I haven't heard ever any comment that demonizes women. What I hear is the rhetoric to say, why don't we consider children in this? These are individuals that have 10 fingers and 10 toes and unique DNA, and we're trying to find a way to be able to protect the life of children that are moving into the next generation here, rather than just trying to deal with the issue of convenience now. So the real challenge for us is we do need to talk about these issues. Now, like I mentioned, I don't hear people demonizing women in that comment. I would absolutely reject that. But this is something similar to saying, you know what, if the president and others talk a lot about climate change and there's a shooting in a coal mine, then the president's comments about climate change should certainly be blamed for a shooting in a coal mine. Those two don't connect. You've got an irrational person that does something. These are political statements, and these are statements that America actually needs to talk about. And if there's any pushback to say, you know what, America doesn't need to talk about infants and children anymore, I would just disagree with that. I think America does need to talk about the life of children and how to protect children in the days ahead.
Senator, I want to move on to something that I know is also near to your heart, and that is this report that you've just put out called Federal Fumbles. It's about federal waste, and you have some doozies in here that you've highlighted. I'll put some up on the screen. $65,000 to study what happens to bugs in the dark. That is sort of curious, by the way. $2.6 million weight loss program for truck drivers. $43 million to build a gas station in Afghanistan. Honestly, how do these things get through Congress?
Well, not just slip through Congress, slip through the administration, slip through everyone. Sometimes it's just incompetence of an individual that's making a decision that just wasn't paying attention to the rest of what's happening. Sometimes it's lack of oversight from Congress. Sometimes it's a failed project that's been failed for a long time, and no one stepped up to actually lead and to be able to correct this. One of the big issues is still IRS ID tax fraud. There is a way for the IRS to be able to have a double check to make sure that individuals don't file on your Social Security number early and try to get a tax return and make it chaotic for you to file your own taxes. That's not been done. So we try to identify 100 different ways that the federal government's dropped the ball, either in oversight, either Congress not doing their job, or the administration not doing basic oversight on it. But to say these are not criticisms, these are highlighting real inefficiencies that we need to attack, and My concern is a lot of people are taking their eye off of the debt issues.
Yeah.
We still have a major problem with debt in America that we have to find efficiencies in government, get us back to a balanced budget. We're still $450 billion in deficit spending this year. We have to find a way to get back to balance.
We're out of time, but I do urge people to go online and look at your report because there's